Hello everyone, welcome to today's session of Easy Dharma for the New Normal. I'm your host for this evening, Pastor Niral. Before we start, let me just see who is online today. So, as most of you are aware, these sessions are done by either myself or Pastor David, myself on a Tuesday, Pastor David on a Wednesday. And we're sharing a little bit of the Dharma with you every week. And so far my current topic is Guru devotion. Now, as I've mentioned before, there are two aspects to Guru devotion. There's the outer aspect and then there's the inner aspect of Guru devotion. So what I'm going over with you first is actually the outer aspect, which is covered by the 50 verses of Guru devotion, and then later on I'll be going through the internal aspect, which is actually covered by the teachings on Guru devotion within the Lam Rim. So let me just see who is online today. I see Kin Ho is here. Good evening to you. Sukfan as well. Bath is here. Elsie Toy. Pastor Antoinette, Mr. Lam is also here, and Sharon Ong. Good evening to everyone, and thank you for joining my session this evening. Hope you've had a good day so far, and I hope that you will learn a little bit more about Guru devotion through today's session. So, Martin's online as well. Hello, Martin. And Iman has joined as well. So thank you everyone for joining this evening. Sumana Tan is also online. Good evening to you as well. Thank you for joining. So I'm going to do a little quick recap of what I have been sharing in my previous sessions on the 50 verses. So the 50 verses are actually divided up into three major sections. The first section actually deals with the qualities of a guru that we should be looking for, the qualities of a guru qualities of a lama or a teacher that we should take as our guru, which was covered in the first session. And the second session was the second section of the 50 verses, which was mainly covered once we have taken a guru, what happens, what are the karmic repercussions if we actually go against our guru's instructions, or we think badly about our guru, or we do things to upset the guru's mind. So that actually brings us on to the third section, and the third section is actually how we show Guru devotion, how we need to practice it, and this itself is actually this third section of how to practice Guru devotion. It is actually divided up into 8 further sections, and each section teaches us how to behave in a certain way physically towards our guru. So that's what we're going to be starting to go over today, is these 8 sections of how we actually pay respect to our guru, how we show guru devotion through our physical actions. As I've seen some more people come online, Tata Ong, Kwan Ming, Pastor Shin is also online, Abun is also online, and Hannah Fu as well. Thank you very much for joining this evening's session. So I'm just going to go straight into verse 16, and verse 16 actually starts off the first section, which actually deals with making offerings to your guru. All right, so verse 16 starts, so I'll read it out. If out of lack of awareness you have shown disrespect to your guru, reverently present an offering to him and seek his forgiveness. Then in the future such harm as plagues will not befall you. So as we have seen, I'm mumbling again today. As we have seen in the previous session, when you actively think about or go about disrespecting your guru or deriding your guru in any way, what happens is you collect a lot of negative karma, which you will have to suffer from. This verse 16 is actually talking about when you disrespect your guru or have been irreverent towards your guru out of lack of awareness. So it is not that you actually had the motivation to be disrespectful or to show any form of disrespect, but because of your lack of awareness, you may have done so inadvertently. And the way around this to stop the creation of that negative karma that's associated with such actions is actually to make an offering to your guru, a material offering to your guru. Okay, when you have done that, you won't suffer the karmic consequences of having disrespected your guru. And when you give a material offering to your guru, if he or she is physically present, you would offer it very respectfully using both of your hands. You would hold the object or the item that you are offering with both of your hands and offer it to your guru. Obviously, in the case where your guru is no longer around, you can make offerings to your guru's relics, like we do in Kechara. Every single day we make offerings to Rinpoche's relics. And I think many of you here would know that when Rinpoche was physically with us, people would constantly be making offerings, whether it is a food offering or a particular item, Dharma items, things like that. And now that Rinpoche is no longer physically with us, what tends to happen is a lot of us think that it is, we don't need to make offerings anymore. But this isn't actually the case, because the Guru may not physically be with us, but he is still with us, energetically speaking. Because Rinpoche was an enlightened being, he's always around us. It's just that now he's no longer in a physical form, but he is still here, he's still with us. So it's still encouraged to actually make offerings to your Guru. And this strengthens the bond that you have with your Guru. And this is something that is we will get into in a couple of verses' time, because it's explained further. So I'll explain that part of it a little later on in the session. Now, you're probably wondering, why is it that if I have been disrespectful to the Guru from a lack of awareness, why would making a physical offering, a material offering to the Guru, actually kind of stop that karma from ripening, or stop that karma altogether? And it's quite simple in a way, because you have done something. Just think about it. If you have offended your friend or your family member inadvertently, what you would do is you would to mend that relationship that you have, you would go and you would apologize, and you would tell them that you didn't mean to offend them, that you didn't mean to be disrespectful, and most likely you would probably give them a physical gift as a gesture of your apology and of your sincerity. And it's that emotion behind it, it is that thinking and that emotion behind it that actually leads you to mend the relationship. It isn't necessarily the physical item that you're giving them, be it, I don't know, flowers or chocolates or whatever, or their favorite food perhaps. It isn't the actual item that that mends the relationship. It is actually your motivation and your effort behind it that is the cause for that relationship to be healed. And this is exactly what it is like with your guru. When you have done something disrespectful, in order to mend that relationship, you do exactly the same thing. Apart from within the Buddhist context, it's more formalized in the sense that you're making an offering to your guru. And this was something that Lama Tsongkhapa actually discussed in his commentary to the 50 verses. And the way that he discussed this was he actually quoted a particular tantric text. It was the long commentary on the Paramadhya Tantra, which is a tantric practice that stems from India, which Lama Tsongkhapa was well versed in. And he uses the commentary for this particular tantra to prove that it is this mechanism that heals the relationship between two people, and obviously would heal the relationship between yourself and your guru. So let me just see who is online. If anybody else has joined, I see Christy Flores is online, ECG Heart is online, Sun Hok Sang is also online, and Yiling, hello, and thank you for joining this evening. So that was verse 16. So I'm going to move on to verse 17. Now, when I'm going to read it out, it is going to sound very zealous. It is going to sound very difficult to fathom for some people, but then I will go on to explain the meaning of it. Verse 17. It has been taught that for the guru to whom you have pledged your word of honor, to visualize as one with your meditational deity, you should willingly sacrifice your wife, children, and even your life, although these are not easy to give away. Is there need to mention your fleeting wealth? Now, I'm going to analyze this and explain this in smaller chunks, so you'll be able to understand the whole of the verse in its entirety. The first is that here it is talking about your word of honor. And if you remember in my previous session, I kind of explained what the word of honor is. The word of honor basically is any promise or vow that you have made to your guru. In essence, this is talking about the word of honor of actually taking refuge, number one. So when you take refuge, and this was discussed in the first session on Guru Devotion, you actually develop that bond with a particular guru, with a particular teacher. And from your side, from the side of the student, what that word of honor is to follow your guru's instructions, follow your guru's advice, and put your guru's instructions and advice into practice in daily life. Usually people only think of this in terms of engaging in one's sadhana or daily practices, but it's actually more than that, because a guru teaches you more than that. A guru teaches you actually how to transform your mind to become a more compassionate, more wiser person, and various ways in which to do this. So this is actually also part of your word of honor. Day by day, if you are keeping your word of honor to your guru, you should actually be seeing that your mind is transforming and you yourself are becoming a better person. And one of the signs that this is happening, if you're not sure if you're doing it or not, is the relationships you have with the people around you, be it your family, be it your friends or your work colleagues, actually improves. Because as you become a better person, the people around you can see you becoming a better person. And as they see you becoming a better person, their interactions and the situations you are in with those people actually improves as well. Secondly, this word of honor is also talking about tantric practice. And within Tantra, your word of honor, your commitment, your vows that you make to your guru are supreme. It is the basis of all tantric practice. And the 50 verses of Guru devotion is a text that prepares you for tantric practice. It is on two levels. It's on sutric practice and tantric practice, but leans more towards the tantric practice. That is one of the reasons why Tsemrin Rinpoche put a lot of emphasis on the 50 verses and encourage students to read, to recite, and to contemplate these 50 verses, because it does train you and prepare you for tantric practice. Because within tantric practice, guru devotion is also one of the pillars of practicing to actually gain attainments. And this brings me on to the second part of the verse. The second part of the verse is it says, to visualize as one with your meditational deity. Now, as many of you might already know, when we're doing any particular deity practice, say it is Vajrasattva, or it is Manjushri, or Lama Tsongkhapa, when we visualize the physical form of these deities, you need to have the faith and the conviction that this deity is actually your guru. So this doesn't mean that the deity physically takes on the appearance of your guru, because the deities themselves have their own appearances, they have their own iconography. This basically means that you develop that strong faith, that thought, that this particular deity is in essence one with your guru. It is no different from your guru. It is just your guru manifesting in a different form, which happens to be the deity that you are practicing. Now, this is an element of tantric practice, but this is also an element that Rinpoche has encouraged all of his students to do when they engage in deity practices. So if you're all practicing the diamond path, which is the standard sadhana which we practice here at Kechara on a daily basis, this will be akin to visualizing Lama Tsongkhapa when you're doing Lama Tsongkhapa's Guru Yoga, and to think strongly and have the faith that Lama Tsongkhapa is your Guru. Okay. I've seen a question, but I'll finish off this verse first, and then I'll answer your question. The second part of it is, you should willingly sacrifice your wife, children, and even your life. Although these are not easy to give away, is there need to mention your fleeting wealth? Okay. Now this verse actually took for a man, for a married man, for a family man, this verse is actually talking about something very precious to a person, which is their wife, their children, and even their life. These are the most precious things that a man can have in life. It doesn't have to be, if you're a woman, it would be your husband. If you're not married, it would be your parents or your siblings or your friends that you are extremely close to. It is basically talking about the most closest and most dearest things we hold in our life. So forget about your wealth, as it says in the verse. If you're not thinking about your wealth and your literal material possessions that you own, what you're actually talking about is people. People are dearest to you. Okay? And further on top of that, what is most dearest to you is your own life. Okay? So this verse is saying that you should even give these things to your guru. Okay? As an offering to your guru. This doesn't actually mean you literally take your wife and your kids and you put them in front of your guru and you say, "Here, guru, I'm giving you my wife and giving you my children." That's not what it is saying. What it is talking about, it is getting you to contemplate the meaning of what's precious to you, and to generate the mind frame that you would actually give these and offer such precious things that you hold dear in your life to your guru. So again, it is not saying that you literally give your wife or your children to your guru, but it is for you to develop that mind frame that you would give even the most precious things to your guru. And the reason why this is a very important verse is it does one very important thing, and that is it allows you to contemplate and to actually practice generosity. Now, generosity is something that I've talked about in previous sessions, especially when I was talking about the 6 perfections. But generosity here is not a physical, it is not a physical act of giving. This generosity that the verse is talking about is a mental type of generosity. Now, and an emotional type of generosity. Because when we usually think about generosity, we think about it in a way that is only material. Oh, how to be generous to a temple? You go and make offerings, or you donate a little bit of money to a temple, or you make a monetary offering to your guru. But what is a higher form of generosity is your actual time, your energy, your emotional, your mental state of being. You develop generosity in that. So this is actually the true meaning of this verse. Just to make that clear, because this verse, when people read it, can be very frightening, and some people almost think it's cult-like, but because they don't understand the true meaning of it, which is developing generosity within your mind stream. So I see. Okay, let's just see who else is online. Pastor Tap Ming, Callista is also online. Thanks for joining, Callista, a regular. Jerry Go, Sheen is also online. Nigel Wang is also online. Good evening to all of you. I do have a question by Yo Miao Ki. Is it acceptable that I visualize all my 5 gurus as Vajra Guru Padma Sambhava when I recite Om Ahung Benza Guru Pema Siddhi Hong? Okay. If you have more than one guru and you are practicing a particular deity, so in this case, I think you're practicing Guru Rinpoche. So if you're practicing Guru Rinpoche, yes, you visualize Guru Rinpoche, but you have the thought and the faith and the devotion and the conviction that Guru Rinpoche is the embodiment of all 5 of your gurus. So that is how you do it. If you have more than one guru, they are all Guru Rinpoche in this case. So if you're practicing Guru Rinpoche, it will be the same. If you're practicing Lama Tsongkhapa, if you're practicing Manjushri, Vajrasattva, whatever deity, they are the embodiments of your guru, and you should have the faith and the conviction to visualize them as such. And this will prepare you for tantric practices later on. Yiling asks, would it be considered a form of mental and emotional surrender in the form of generosity? Yes, Yiling, it would. Now, you've brought up a very good point. A lot of texts actually talk about, and when even the lamas themselves give teachings on guru devotion, they always say that you need to surrender to your guru. And when these days, when we hear about surrendering to your guru, most people think about, giving up completely. They think about having no self-will, no, what is it called? My words have lost me today. Self-esteem. No self-esteem, no self-love. But this isn't actually the case. What it means when we surrender yourself to your guru is to actually have that faith and that conviction, which guru devotion is all about, that your guru knows the ways in which you can actually overcome your suffering and can actually help you transform yourself to become a better person. So what you're surrendering is, you're not surrendering anything positive, what you're surrendering is all those negative things that stop you from becoming a better person. You're surrendering your anger, you're surrendering your jealousy, you're surrendering your laziness. And when you surrender these to your guru, and when you learn what the guru has to teach, this is actually extremely transformational. This is what will lead you to Buddhahood. Okay, so I hope that answers your question. But Yiling, you phrased it in a very good way. Okay, I've seen Jonathan is also online. Thanks for joining. Jerry Go, what if for those that doesn't have a guru? Okay, that is a good question. Now, within the Tibetan Buddhist practice, which belongs to the Vajrayana tradition, within Vajrayana it is said that you can practice Buddhism without a guru, but it will take you a very, very long time to actually achieve spiritual attainments and ultimately enlightenment. So within the text, it actually says that without a guru, it will actually take you eons and eons to achieve enlightenment or any form of spiritual attainments if you don't have a guru. However, if you do have a guru, and if you follow the guru devotion strongly, and you follow the advice and the teachings of your guru, you can actually achieve enlightenment within only one lifetime. And the reason for this is because when a guru deems you ready enough, a guru will bestow upon you tantric initiation within Vajrayana Buddhism. And using Tantra, you can achieve enlightenment within one lifetime because it's known as the quick path. So it is a path that is very speedy. And the reason for this is, if you didn't have a guru to teach you the path or the methods of practice, it would actually take you a long time to actually learn that for yourself. Whereas if you actually have someone to teach you how to do it, to teach you how to transform your mind, it is going to be a lot more quicker for you to do so. And that is one of the reasons why there so much emphasis is placed upon the guru, because if you have true faith and true conviction in your guru and their advice and how to practice, it speeds up your spiritual transformation. Okay, now I think more than that, I think what Jerry was referring to was, I think in this case was the visualization of the guru during daily practice. Now, my personal advice would actually be to find a qualified guru and to actually make that bond between yourself and that guru, whether it is Tsem Rinpoche. I know he's not physically here anymore, but remember I told you before, the guru doesn't have to be physically present, and the guru's teachings actually live on through the students and the teachings that they left behind. So the ability to make that bond is still there. And so my advice would be to actually find a qualified guru and to actually make that bond. Now, that bond doesn't necessarily, as I've explained in previous sessions, doesn't necessarily mean you have to go and literally take refuge, the physical refuge taking ceremony with the particular guru, because that bond and that strength and that conviction is actually from your heart. Okay? You can actually even take refuge in a guru without physically being present in front of the guru, which is something I've already explained, which is explained in length in the Lamrim. Okay? So, to get onto the visualization of it, you might not have a guru that you have a bond with, but you should then think of and have the conviction that the particular deity figure that you're visualizing is the embodiment of all of the spiritual teachers that you have learnt something from, that you have learnt something about Buddhism from, about spiritual transformation from. Okay? So I hope that answers your question. Remember, if anybody does have any questions or any comments, you can put them on the comments, and I will answer them. Okay, let us get back to now. Where were we? I think we've done 17. Okay, now we'll move on to 18. Such practice of offering can confer even Buddhahood on a zealous disciple in his or her very lifetime, which otherwise might be difficult to attain even in countless millions of eons. Okay, this is something that I just talked about with my answer to Jerry. That within the Vajrayana tradition, when you have a guru, it speeds up your spiritual process, because here is a person that has already learnt and embodies the teachings necessary for that spiritual transformation. So when you follow them, when you follow their advice, when you follow their instructions, whether it is to do your sadhana every day or reduce your anger, be a more compassionate person, everything, all of their teachings combined, you actually can progress very quickly on the path to enlightenment. Okay. Okay, there is, within the commentary to the 50 verses, this particular verse is, within the commentary, actually says that within the Kala Chakra Tantra, it says that no matter how many offerings you make to the Buddhas throughout eons and eons of practice, and no matter how much charity or help you give to sentient beings over the same period of time, it still cannot guarantee you enlightenment within one lifetime. However, if you do cultivate Guru devotion, if you practice it strongly, it can lead to enlightenment within just one lifetime. Okay? And then we'll move on to number 19. Okay. Number 19. Always keep your words of honor. Always make offerings to the enlightened ones, and always make offerings to the Guru, for he is the same as all the Buddhas. So here, this verse is in 3 sections. Always keep your words of honor. This actually refers to, again, having created that bond between yourself and a Guru, to make sure that you always keep that bond. And by that I mean you strive every day to transform yourself according to your Guru's advice and instructions. The second is that you always make offerings to the enlightened ones. Now, this is something as Buddhists, if we have taken refuge, is something that we actually need to do every single day. It's one of the commitments of having taken refuge. Now, what this is for is to actually help you generate merit. Now, I think everybody online today knows a little bit about Buddhism. So merit is that force, or that energy, that spiritual energy that you need to help you achieve enlightenment. And one of the ways that you generate this merit is actually by making offerings to the Buddhas, usually on your altar in the form of water offerings or sensory offerings. You can also make mandala offerings. You can make additional offerings of water, flower offerings. There are many sorts of offerings that we can make, but this should be done on a daily basis to help you generate merit. Okay. And the third is that you should always make offerings to your Guru. Now, remember earlier on I talked about a little bit about the fact that some people think that because Rinpoche is no longer physically around with us, that they don't need to make offerings. But as we can see here in the 50 verses, this isn't actually the case. So, I mean, if you don't have the ability to make offerings to Rinpoche's relics, or send offerings to Rinpoche's relics to be made for you, The way you do this is you make offerings to your altar or your shrine, because if you have that connection with Rinpoche, most likely you're going to have Rinpoche's picture on your altar. Or even if you don't have Rinpoche's picture on your altar, but think strongly that the offerings that you're making on your altar is actually for Rinpoche or for your guru. That still generates the same merits. And the reason for this is that the guru is the embodiment of the three jewels. Now remember, I discussed this a little bit before. We have when we take refuge in three jewels: the guru, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. But the guru is actually the embodiment of the three jewels. And this is something that we should cultivate and think strongly of, especially when we're practicing guru devotion. So that was verse 19. So let me, seen some more people come online. Tenzin Jamkar is online. Gillian Lin is also online. Thank you very much for joining today's session. Number 20. Those who wish to attain the inexhaustible state of a Buddha's wisdom body should give to their guru whatever they themselves find pleasing, from the most trifling objects to those of best quality. So here, what it means by the inexhaustible state of a Buddha's wisdom body is actually talking about the Dharmakaya, which is the form of the Buddhas, the state of the Buddhas that has no form. It has no physical form, and it is kind of the highest state of a Buddha. It's known as the wisdom body, which is what it's termed as here in the 50 verses. Okay. So in order to achieve that state, in order to achieve full and complete enlightenment, basically, in other words, what you should do is, what you give to your guru, you should always give the things that you find pleasing. What are good things? This can be anything according to your means, from the most trifling objects, which could mean, like, I don't know, a little figurine or whatever, to those of the best quality, such as, I don't know, a gold offering bowl or something like that. Okay. And the reason why you give your guru what you yourself find pleasing is basically to help you as a student to lessen your desire or your attachment for material things. So if you know that you are attached to I don't know, having good food, okay, which I know here in Malaysia we all love to eat a good meal, right? So what you should offer up to your guru would be good food, what the kind of foods that you like, or if you have a particular interest, to offer the objects associated with that interest up to your guru, because these are the things that we are attached to. So when you offer up things that you are attached to, sincerely to the Buddhas or to your guru in this case, what you are doing is you are actually lessening your attachment to it. Why is that? Because you no longer have it. You're actually giving it away. So even though you are attached to a certain thing or a certain item, you give it away to your guru. And it's easier for us to give it to our guru than it is to other people. For example, take the example of cake. I've been using this example all week when I've been talking to people. I think it's because I'm extremely attached to cake at the moment, and I've been craving it a lot because I can't eat anything with sugar in it at the moment. So I'm attached to cake at the moment, so I've been craving cake. So the offering that you would in this instance you would give to your guru, you make offerings of, would be cake. And because you're giving it away, because I'm not keeping it for myself, I'm not, tearing into the cake and eating the whole thing in one sitting, which I would very much like to do, you give it away, and that is a way that you actually lessen your attachment to the particular object. So as we can see, Guru devotion itself actually helps you in other areas that you might not have thought were part of Guru devotion. For example, earlier on in a previous verse, we were talking about developing the mind of generosity. And now I'm talking about curbing your attachment, curbing your desire. And the way to do that is to make offerings to your Guru. So we see that Guru devotion isn't just about blindless devotion to a particular Guru, a particular person. Guru devotion actually involves many aspects of the Dharma. And when you do this, you will actually find that your negative qualities that you have actually lessen and your positive qualities increase. You increase your generosity and you decrease your attachment. Okay? This is something that many people don't fully understand about Guru devotion, but it is, when you study Guru devotion, especially the various texts on it, you come to understand why it is so important, and this is a reason. Okay, now imagine if I didn't have faith and devotion in my Guru, and somebody asked me to give them my cake. No way, I would keep the cake for myself and I wouldn't give it to anybody else. Okay, but if I'm practicing Guru devotion, I would gladly give my cake to my Guru. That curbs the desire, attachment. Okay, it doesn't have to be cake, it can be any sort of attachment that we have. Okay, I see we have more people. Yiman has joined, and Pastor Jinai is also online. Chung is also online. Chung has a question. Pastor Niral, would you agree that the practice of Guru devotion is the practice of the 8 verses of training the mind, but made easier for us because of the nature of a Guru vis-a-vis us? This is Guru being very kind to us, to enable us to achieve realizations quickly by making the practice easier. Okay, that's a very good point that Chung has made. In essence, yes, it is also things like the 8 verses of thought transformation within a kind of encapsulated within Guru devotion, but I'm actually going to go one step further than that. You see, Guru devotion is more than just the 8 verses. It is more than just about the examples that I've given about curbing your desire and increasing your generosity. It basically encapsulates the entire Dharma practice. Why is that? Okay, one, you can see here within the examples that I've given that it encapsulates a whole range of Dharma practice, which can be explained in its own way. You can give a whole talk on generosity. I can tell you to practice generosity in a variety of ways. The same with curbing attachment. Pastor David has given a session on being less attached to things. Okay, but here we see that Guru devotion itself encapsulates the entire practice of the Dharma, and it allows you to progress on the spiritual journey very, very quickly. And this is because it is directed solely at a particular person, and this person is actually the most important person in your life, and that is your Guru. And why is this? You're probably thinking maybe your parents are the most important people in your life, but actually technically they're not, because we all have issues with our parents. If they were the most important, truly the most important people in our lives, then we will be able to have a perfect relationship with them, because we know that they are, or we at least strive to have the perfect relationship with them. But the thing is, most of the time, things like your attachment, your anger, your ignorance get in the way, and that stops you from having a good relationship with your parents or with anybody. When you follow your guru's instructions and when you practice guru devotion, as I've been explaining, you actually become and transform into a better person, which actually means that the relationships with your parents or those people you love actually improves. So that is the reason why the guru is considered, especially within guru devotion practices, the guru is considered the most important person in your life. Okay? But Chung's comment was very good. Nigel Wong asked, "Hi Pastor Niral, may I know for the Jumbo wealth phase, can I offer fresh water, pearls, and also some incense? And talk to my wealth phase to continuously giving me the inner and outer wealth." Okay, good question. Now, this is something that a lot of people kind of forget about wealth phases. When they invite wealth phases, they just think it's an object and to put on your altar or somewhere clean and respectful, and then they just kind of leave it there to attract wealth. Okay? Now, wealth vases are actually, when wealth vases are made, you actually invite the enlightened beings to reside within your wealth vase. So, hence why people put wealth vases on their altars. Hence why it's acceptable to put something like a wealth vase on your altar, because it is an embodiment of the energies of a Buddha. So making offerings, you can make offerings to your wealth vase. You can offer pearls, which is a very good offering. You can offer water, and you can offer incense. It is a very, very good way of generating merit. And because of the particular function of a wealth vase, the more offerings that you make, the more energy of wealth that you that you generate. Okay, the merits for the energy of wealth, be that outer wealth or inner wealth. So it's actually very good for you to do that. Okay. As for talking to the wealth phase, you don't. I mean, you wouldn't say, kind of give me wealth, give me wealth, give me wealth. I'm giving you something. I'm making an offering to you. Give me wealth, because that would be that would be you making a bargain, and that's not something that you do with a Buddha. That's not what you do with an enlightened being. However, you can talk to the Buddhas, okay, and it's going to sound very weird. But actually, the Buddhas are always around us. And when you talk to... This is something that Tsem Rinpoche actually told me, which was actually to talk to the Buddhas, to talk to the Dharma protectors, Dojishuk, and even to talk to your Guru. Even if he or she is not around, to talk. And the reason is... There's a couple of different reasons. One is that from a physical kind of material, worldly point of view, when you talk about something, when you talk about your problems or things that you're going through, it releases some of the tension, if there is any, within you about this particular situation. Second is you're actually petitioning the enlightened beings for help when you talk to them about certain things. Now, one of the elements of prayers that we have within Buddhism is what is known as petitioning. And what that basically is you're basically asking the enlightened beings for help with a particular situation. Now, for the Buddhas, it is usually you petition them to bless you, to bestow blessings upon you, to help you understand the Dharma more, to help transform your life. This is what a petition is. Now, when you petition a Dharma protector, the petitioning is a little bit different. Petitioning in this sense is actually asking a Dharma protector to actually help you overcome a particular issue that you are facing in life. So it is, whether it is, trouble at work, disharmony in the family, financial difficulties, okay? So when you actually talk and you use your speech, you put energy in your speech to actually talk to the Buddhas or the Dharma protectors, or in this case the wealth phase as the embodiment of the enlightened energies of wealth. It is it's perfectly acceptable, and it will have a benefit because you are communicating your wishes, you are petitioning the enlightened beings. Okay, some people think that's really weird. Okay, and that's not something that we do in Buddhist practice. But actually, Rinpoche personally told me, for my personal practice, that this is something that you should do, especially when it comes to the Dharma protector or any Dharma protector. Okay. Okay, Chung says, for example, 8 verses of mind training by Geshe Langri Tangpa. By thinking of all sentient beings as more precious than a wish-fulfilling jewel, for accomplishing the highest aim, I will always hold them dear. Yes, you're right that this can be easier done when you practice Guru devotion, but don't forget that the Guru isn't selfish. If you have a qualified Guru, be that Guru enlightened or not enlightened, the Guru will not be selfish. So in this case, what happens is, yes, you hold them dearer than a wish-fulfilling jewel. And maybe for you, and actually most people, it's easier for us to do that with our Guru than with anybody else. But there will come a point down the line, further down the line, when your Guru will expect you to actually take the feelings and the devotion that you have generated towards your Guru and to actually apply that to all sentient beings. Okay, so Chung, yes, you're right. Easier to do, but don't forget that you do actually also need to do that to everyone. Hold everyone, all sentient beings, dearer than your heart. But you're right. It is easier, to do with your Guru first. All right. Okay. Good evening, Pastor Hani. Thank you very much for joining. Lin Man is also online, and Edmund is also online. Thanks everyone for joining today's session. So now I'm going to get on to verse 21. Giving to your Guru is the same as making continual offerings to all the Buddhas. From such giving, much merit is gathered. From such collection comes the supreme powerful attainment of Buddhahood. Okay, so this is actually a continuation of the themes that were taught before in the previous verses, which is actually to make offerings again and again to your Guru as the embodiment of the 3 jewels. And when you do that, you generate a lot of merit. And from that collection of merit, that is what takes you towards enlightenment. Okay? But this is done on 2 ways, as I've explained earlier. One is, through this you generate merit, which is the energy that you need to achieve enlightenment. But secondly, because of the internal aspects of making offerings to your Guru, of practicing Guru devotion, you're actually transformed to become a better person. So you see that the practice of Guru devotion, and in this case making offerings to your Guru, kind of helps you in 2 ways to further your spiritual progress, generating merit and transforming your mind. So let me see. Okay. Now, that is the end of the section on making offerings to your Guru. Okay? So there we have seen the reasons, in the previous verses we have seen the reasons why we should make offerings to our Guru and the benefits of actually doing so. Now we come to the second section, which is actually how to perceive your Guru, how to think about the Guru. Okay? So the first verse of this section is actually verse 22, which is, therefore, a disciple with good qualities of compassion, generosity, moral self-control, and patience should never regard the Guru and Buddha Vajradhara as different. Okay? So, okay, let's go into this in a little bit more detail. So, you have developed a disciple when they're practicing Guru devotion should, or Buddhism in general, should actually practice certain things, which is compassion, generosity, moral self-control, and patience. Even though the verse only lists those particular qualities, what it's talking here about is actually the 6 perfections. Okay, the 6 perfections that we have, that I did previous sessions on, are the qualities that we as students of the Mahayana tradition, which Vajrayana is a part of, should be practicing every single day and improving ourselves, transforming ourselves for the better using these particular qualities. When you are developing these qualities, or you have developed them, okay, not many of us have developed them, but I think all of us are striving to develop them in some way or another. You should never regard your Guru and Buddha Vajradhara as one. So remember, back to my first session, I was talking about Vajrasattva, as he's mentioned right at the beginning in the homage, and also Vajradhara. Now these are Buddhas that are considered the highest form of the Guru, especially within tantric practice, because they are said to be, they are the embodiments of everything that is good, but also they are the kind of embodiment or the representation of the enlightened beings without any defilement, without any negative qualities. So here what it's saying is is an extension of what I was talking about earlier, which is within tantric practice it is said that you need to visualize your Guru as one with your deity. But that is in terms of visualization, in terms of your sadhana, your daily practice. Here it is actually talking about your physical Guru. Okay? How you should view your physical Guru, how you should think about your physical Guru. So in this sense, you kind of do it the other way. Here, in this sense, you have your physical Guru in front of you, obviously with his or her own physical characteristics. But you need to have the thought, the faith and the conviction that your Guru is the embodiment of Vajradhara. Okay? And Vajradhara is important also within tantric practice, because that within the highest tantric practices, Vajradhara is the form that your Guru takes. Okay? So hence, that is why the example of Vajradhara is used and not any other particular deity, because here again we see that the 50 verses are preparing you for tantric practice. Okay? And just to give a little quote from Geshe Potawa, who is a very famed Geshe, he said, disciples who regard Vajradhara, as in the Buddha, the deity, as better than their own Guru, have no possibility of gaining powerful attainments. And the reason is because you need to actually understand and think and have that conviction that your Guru is Vajradhara himself. Okay. Now I will do I think we've got time enough for one more verse. So verse 23, if you should never step on even your Guru's shadow, because the fearsome consequences are the same as destroying a stupa, is there need to mention never stepping on or over his shoes or seat, sitting in his place or riding his mount? So first here we need to actually think about the negative karma that you accrue when you destroy a stupa. Now, when you damage a stupa, when you destroy a stupa, you generate a lot of negative karma. And the reason that you accumulate that negative karma is because the stupa itself is something that can be it is a physical item that can be used to generate a lot of merit. Why is that? Because when a stupa is made and when a stupa is consecrated, the energies of the enlightened beings are actually called into the stupa. So they're actually residing in the stupa. So when people circumambulate or make offerings to a stupa, it generates merit. So when it generates merit for that particular person, it helps them progress on their spiritual progress. And at the same time, it also helps them overcome any obstacles or any suffering that they might be going through. So when you harm or destroy a stupa, what you are doing is you are no longer allowing people to generate merit. Not just people, but even birds, animals, other sentient beings, spirits that are around the stupa, they also get blessed. You're stopping them from being able to receive blessings and to be able to generate merit. And that is the reason why it creates negative karma. Okay? So, the reason why it says things like stepping over your teacher's shoes, or sitting in his seat, or riding his mount, which is his horse, in olden times, I guess in current times it would be his car. But anyway, it is because you're basically using your guru's, you're showing disrespect, or you're using your guru's belongings. Okay, so that is basically the equivalent to destroying a stupa in terms of karma. So that is verse number 22. I do see I have a couple of questions which I will answer, and that will be the end of today's today's session. Hi Pastor Niral, regarding offering to our Guru, aside from the outer and inner offering, is there any other type of offering? Yes, there is. There are 4 types of offering. One is the one is the outer offering, so a physical, a physical material offering. 2 is the inner offering, which the inner offering is actually transformation of your mind. Then there are 2 other offerings, which I'm not going to get into because my understanding of them is not very clear. One is the offering of suchness, and the other one is known as the secret offering, which I don't know much about because it is a bit above my pay grade at the moment, and they're quite tantric they're quite tantric in theory and understanding of them. So apart from outer and inner, which I've explained, I can't give you a full description of what the offering of suchness and the offering of the secret offering is. I'm sorry. I will try to find out, and I will give you a better description next week, hopefully. Okay. Number 2 is, what would be the correct motivation when making offering to our Guru? The correct motivation is not to... It is something that we covered slightly earlier, kind of, which is that when you make an offering to your Guru, obviously with any offering, at our level there is going to be some sort of selfishness, some sort of self-centeredness involved. Okay? For example, that that if you keep making offerings to your guru, you're going to generate merit. If you generate merit, you're no longer going to suffer. If you don't suffer, then you're going to be happy. Okay. So from our point of view, we should, from when you begin, I would say, making offerings, it should be that you have your motivation. I mean, we always say that your motivation should be as pure as possible, don't we? We always say that you shouldn't want anything in return. You should just be making offering for the sake of making offering and not for any other reason. Okay? But again, which is something that I always say, when you start making offering, you're not going to have the perfect motivation at the beginning. There is always going to be some form of self-centeredness involved in it. So you might start making, I mean, when I started making offerings, I was like, okay, I need merit. I'm going to make offerings. Okay? I'm suffering. I need something to help me out of my suffering. What's one of the ways I can do that? Make an offering. Okay? So your motivation differs as you progress along the path of practice. Now you can say to yourself, maybe you want to say to yourself, I make this offering to my guru as an embodiment of the 3 jewels. May the merits be dedicated to all sentient beings. There are certain prayers that you can recite that has all of this in when you do make the offering. Otherwise, you can just think that yourself. You can have that motivation when you're making it. You might not be able to feel that motivation from your heart, but even just saying it over and over and over and over again will kind of start to habituate your mind into that mode of making offerings, not for yourself, but for all sentient beings. Okay, and over time, you will see that your motivation, when you actually sit down and check it yourself sincerely, and with an open heart, meaning you, not with an open heart, but with checking your motivation properly, that you will see that it will have changed. Okay? All right. Chung says we should think of our Guru as the primordial Buddha or wisdom Buddha or Dharmakaya Buddha, as Pastor Niral said earlier, depicted as Buddha Vajradhara, to maximize the benefits of our devotion. Yeah, you're correct. And that was in verse 22. Okay, so I will be ending today. We finished verse 23. So next week we will continue with verse 24. And Iman, I will try to get a better description of the 2 other forms of offering for you. Okay? Before we go, I would just like to thank today's sponsors, who are Ming Hui Ying, with the dedication, may the Dharma grow and all sentient beings be relieved of their suffering, and Calvin Tan, whose dedication is my praise and dedication for you to take a good rebirth, Norman. I also dedicate the merits myself from today's session for Norman's good rebirth. So before we go, I will just do, if there's no other questions, I will do a completion dedication for today's session. Thank you everyone for joining. Chanju Samcho Rinpoche, Makepanam Gekuji, Kapanyama Mepaya, Gonden Gondu Pawasho, Tony Tongwa Rinpoche, Makepanam Gekuji, Kapanyama Mepai, Gonden Gondu Pawasho, Nasojine Sapagewadi, Nanando Wagun Langamban, Jabba Jason Los Andrabai, Tampeni Burindusa Shesh, Kiawa Kundunyata Lamadan, Ramechiki Pala Lochuchin, Sadam Yamgi Unterazone, Tujijengi Gopan Vitosho, Gewadi Nududa, Lama Sangerukune, Jowachiku Malupa, De Salagopach, Choki Gaposongapa, Chotsunama Pewala, Geki Maziwadan, to give Malun Jamacho, Ladan Something to Sundan, Drewatsot in Atene, Gavalos and Rapai, Tampering Gucci, Nimo Deles and Dele, Numegungan Delage, Nizatato Telebel, Conjusum Chichinjilo, Conjusum Niruso, Conjusum Nichashi, Sho, Jetsulama Kuseram Techin, Nam Katrina Jujabada, Los Santa Medrum Sasungi, the Wemutatune, Gucci, Gangrida Way Corporation Kabir, and then they were Malagu and Chenezo and Tenzing Yasui, Shape City part of the day in Gucci. Hung tung bengo dro malupa, then the dangla solduso, konanda belo junam, yobatso chik shuk den so. Thank you everyone for joining today's session. Have a good night and see you all tomorrow for Pastor David's session.